They say Pennsylvania's forests and fields hold echoes of the past, some whispered legends, others lost to time. But every now and then, something stirs that has no place in the history books. 3 unsettling accounts, each one hinting that shadows in the Keystone State hold secrets far beyond our understanding. Stay with us as we journey into the unknown. Welcome to Weird Encounters, a place where the ordinary fades into shadow and the unexplainable comes alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and become part of our ever-growing community of the curious. Now prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. I'm from Philly, born and raised near the row homes in Fishtown, so I never grew up around endless woods or even real camping trips. But this summer, I decided to try something new. I drove out to the Allegheny National Forest in northwestern Pennsylvania, looking for fresh air and maybe a little adventure. My friend told me it was a great spot for stargazing and fishing, and I figured it would be cool to see more than just concrete sidewalks for once. I arrived in the late afternoon. The drive was long, almost 5 hours, but it felt like a different world once I got there. The trees looked massive, and there were so many winding roads that I almost got lost twice. Anyway, I set up my tent at one of those primitive campsites near the river. It was pretty quiet, which was awesome at first. I could hear birds calling in the distance, and the wind through the branches made this gentle whooshing sound. As the sun started dipping behind the pines, I walked around trying to find a good place to capture the nighttime sounds. I do a bit of amateur podcasting, mostly city sounds, trains, stuff like that, so I thought it would be cool to get some nature recordings. I set my small recorder on a fallen log, then headed back to camp to make something to eat. Night came fast. By 9 p.m., it was pitch black, except for my small lantern. I started hearing weird noises after I got back to my recorder. At first, it sounded like low growls, but really faint, so I couldn't tell if it was just my stomach or something else. Then around 10 or 11, I got brave and decided to replay the recording with headphones, just out of curiosity. That's when I heard it, louder than anything else, this haunting howl or roar, something that sent chills through me. It wasn't a coyote. I've heard coyotes out near the suburbs before. This was deeper, throatier, almost like a guttural snarl. I should have packed up right then, but I thought maybe it was just a bear. People see bears in these parts, right? I tried to brush it off, but I just couldn't relax. The forest felt too still, and the air had that tense feeling like right before a thunderstorm. I kept thinking about local legends, stories I'd read about large wolf-like creatures up in the mountains or weird sightings near old logging roads. It always seemed like stuff made up to scare campers, but I started to wonder if maybe there was something to all that talk. Around midnight, I heard branches snapping not too far from my tent. I stepped out with a small flashlight, my heart pounding so hard my chest hurt. I saw something move between the trees. Tall, maybe a little hunched, but I couldn't see its face or eyes in the dark. All I know is it made this raspy breath sound, like it was struggling or growling softly. I quickly ducked back inside my tent. I'm not ashamed to say I zipped it up and sat there holding my pocket knife, trying not to freak out. At some point, I dozed off because I woke up to this loud thumping noise near my campsite. It sounded like something was stomping around, heavy, like a person but bigger. I grabbed my phone to call for help, but of course, there was zero reception. I just sat there in total darkness, praying that if I stayed still, it would go away. It didn't. Something scratched against my tent wall, slow and deliberate, like it was testing the material. My throat closed up. My hands shook so bad I almost dropped my phone. Then everything went quiet just like that. Too quiet, really, because even the crickets stopped. After what felt like hours, I finally worked up the nerve to peek outside. There was a strong smell, like wet dog and something rotting. My flashlight landed on these weird prints in the soft dirt, huge prints, almost like a canine, but with extra long toes. I'm no outdoors expert, but I know enough to say that was not a normal footprint. My gear was scattered around, and my cooler was tipped over. Everything felt so off, like the night itself was watching me. That's when I noticed my recorder wasn't where I left it. I found it a few feet away, scratched up like something had tried to bite into it. Part of the plastic was broken. I flicked it on, and I could still hear the last few minutes it recorded, growls, heavy breathing, and what almost sounded like a low grunt or maybe a word, but I can't be sure. That made me feel sick to my stomach. I don't even remember how long I stood there listening, but the next thing I knew, I just wanted to run. The real terror happened when I decided to make a break for my car. About halfway down the trail, something charged at me from the brush. I didn't see much except a big shape. The speed it moved at was unreal. It knocked me sideways into the dirt. My flashlight flew out of my hand. I managed to scramble up, heart hammering, and sprinted the rest of the way. I could hear it chasing me, snapping branches, breathing like it was right behind me. I don't know how, but I made it to my car, locked the doors, and started the engine. As I peeled out, my headlights caught a glimpse of something tall, covered in dark fur, standing on two legs. Its head was shaped like a wolf or a dog, but bigger than any I've ever seen. Then it bolted back into the forest. I drove nonstop until I reached a small gas station off Route 6 near Kane, Pennsylvania. I sat there in the parking lot, just shaking, trying to make sense of what happened. I noticed scratches on my arms and a bruise on my shoulder, probably from when I got knocked down. I'm lucky it didn't do worse. Whatever that thing was, it wanted me gone, or maybe something else entirely. I've heard rumors of Dogman sightings in various parts of the state, but I never believed any of that. I'm still not sure what to call it, but I know it wasn't just my imagination. The recorder had proof of those sounds. I haven't shown it to many people, though, because everyone will probably say I faked it. I've heard rumors of Dogman sightings in various parts of the state, but I never believed any of that. I'm still not sure what to call it, but I know it wasn't just my imagination. The recorder had proof of those sounds. I haven't shown it to many people, though, because everyone will probably say I faked it. I'm not sure how to begin, but I've been a park ranger at Gettysburg National Military Park for a couple of years now, and I need to share something that happened to me a few weeks back. I usually work the late shift because crowds thin out and I can focus on routine patrols. Around here, we get a lot of ghost hunters and Civil War buffs, even the occasional night hiker who swears they see shadowy figures among the cannons. But what I encountered wasn't some Civil War ghost. It was a humid evening, around 8:30 p.m. I remember a storm had just passed, so the fields were muddy and the air was thick with that wet grass smell. I was doing my usual round near Devil's Den. People sneak in there after hours all the time to check out the boulders. The moon was peeking through the clouds, but the battlefield was mostly dark, except for my flashlight. Usually it's pretty peaceful, even with all the old legends floating around. But that night, something felt off from the start. The crickets sounded louder than normal, but also kind of irregular, like they were nervous. I spotted a figure moving near a cluster of trees just north of Devil's Den. It was way too tall and kind of thin, but it moved with a weird speed that didn't look natural. I thought maybe I was seeing things because of the shadows, so I shined my light in that direction, but nothing was there. My radio crackled, but I couldn't make out anything but static. The ranger station was probably on the other side of the ridge, which always messes with the signal. I tried to shake it off and kept walking. A few minutes later, I smelled this disgusting odor, like sulfur mixed with something rotten. I can't even describe it without feeling sick. That's when I heard a low groan, almost like an animal in pain, but deeper. My skin started crawling. I heard old Civil War cannons firing in the distance once or twice, but I always chalked that up to ghost stories, like residual energy or something. But this sound was different, more alive and threatening. I turned around to head back to my vehicle, thinking I'd just circle the area and come at it from another angle. But the sound got louder, and behind a large tree I saw something shift. It was tall. The shape was vaguely humanoid, but it had these elongated limbs that didn't match up with a normal person. My flashlight didn't catch much detail, just the outline and a glint off what looked like eyes reflecting. I froze. I've seen weird things before. Shadows that move in the corners of your vision, typical ghostly stuff, but never something that gave me the feeling this did. My heart started pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Suddenly, it darted out, crossing the path. I swear it was on two legs, but so hunched that its arms almost touched the ground. It moved in this jerky way, like it wasn't used to walking upright. Without thinking, I yelled for it to stop, which sounds stupid now, but I guess my training kicked in. No person in their right mind would be out there moving that fast. The thing vanished into the tall grass near the boulders. I stepped closer, and the stench hit me again, like something crawled out of a swamp mixed with roadkill. That's when I saw footprints in the muddy ground, these claw-like impressions almost as long as my boot, but thinner and spaced weird, like it was prancing or something. My instincts told me to back off. I still tried using my radio, but all I got was static. The air felt electric, like right before lightning strikes. I decided to follow the footprints for a moment. They led right towards some of the older parts of the battlefield, near the base of a hill. I know that area well. There's a small fence lined with old plaques marking troop positions. People claim they see orbs floating there sometimes, or hear whispering voices from the past. I've shrugged that stuff off. But right then, I felt something watching me from behind the fence. My flashlight caught a glimpse of movement again. It was that same tall figure, crouched low, its head kind of tilted. I swear it was looking at me. The worst part was the sudden scream I heard, some kind of shriek that echoed across the field. It was so loud I stumbled backward, nearly dropping my flashlight. It sounded almost like a person, but twisted and tortured. It made my blood run cold. In the darkness, I saw the creature stand up and snap its head around, like it was searching for something. Then, it let out another one of those screams and rushed off into the night. I've never felt such dread in my entire life. My whole body was shaking. I jogged back to my vehicle, locked the doors, and sat there trying to radio the station again. Still nothing. I drove off as fast as I could, headlights sweeping over the boulders and memorial statues. For just a split second, I thought I saw it again in my rearview mirror chasing my truck, but maybe that was just my eyes playing tricks. I didn't stop until I reached the lit parking lot by the visitor center. Once I finally got in touch with my supervisor, I reported a trespasser near Devil's Den. I left out the details because I honestly didn't know how to explain it. In the days since, I've heard some talk from local residents about strange noises at night. Some think it's a leftover spirit from the Civil War, something restless that never moved on. But that doesn't explain those footprints or the smell. Others whisper about a weird cryptid that's been seen around the area, something the government might know about, but they keep quiet. I can't say for sure. All I know is I've been sleeping with one eye open ever since. I still patrol the grounds, but every time I pass that spot, I get chills. I hope this email finds you well, and I hope you tell my story on your channel. I'm not super good at organizing my thoughts, but I just need to share what happened. I've grown up hunting around the Delaware water gap, mostly near Smithfield Beach and along those wooded trails by the river. Usually it's my favorite place to be, quiet, beautiful, and full of wildlife. But something changed this season, and it's been freaking me out ever since. I headed out early last Friday, right before dawn, around 5:30 a.m., I think. I had my gear and was planning on camping out for a couple of days because, deer season is coming up and I like to scout. My uncle and I have always talked about some of the weird stories from this area. He's joked about old local legends of strange creatures lurking in the thick brush, stuff that's been whispered about for decades, but I always just rolled my eyes at it. You hear a lot of stories out here, and folks love to make things up to scare new hunters or hikers. Anyway, I set up a small camp not too far off a trail that leads down to the water. It's a familiar spot, near some big boulders that are supposed to be from the Ice Age or whatever. The first day was normal, saw a few deer, some tracks, nothing special. But that evening, while I was eating a quick dinner of jerky, I started hearing these odd yips and howls. I'm used to coyote calls. They have a certain pitch to them. But this was different. It echoed in a deeper way, like someone screaming into a big metal drum. I couldn't pinpoint it, but I figured maybe there were wolves around. Even though real wolf sightings are rare, you never know what might cross over from New York or up north in the Poconos. I got into my tent, but I couldn't sleep because those howls or screams or whatever just kept going. Then, sometime past midnight, I swear I heard something huge moving outside my tent. Heavy steps, snapping twigs like they were nothing. I froze, but I didn't unzip my tent. It's weird to say, but I felt watched. It's that skin-crawling feeling when you just know you're not alone. I didn't step outside until sunrise. That's when I saw it, the claw marks. 4 deep gashes in the bark of a maple tree right behind my tent, fresh, with splinters of wood still on the ground. They were way higher than I could reach, and the spread between them was massive, like as wide as my hand can stretch times 2. I checked around for tracks, maybe a bear or something, but all I found were these long, skinny footprints in the mud. They almost looked human, but not quite. The stride was all wrong, and the toes seemed elongated. My heart was thumping so loud I practically felt it in my ears. I tried to stay calm and reason it away. Maybe a bear had a weird paw or something, but I'm pretty sure black bears around here don't stand and slash trees that high. Besides, these marks had a pattern that reminded me more of long, bony fingers. I kept scanning the area and caught a glimpse of something off in the distance, maybe 30 yards away near a cluster of rocks. It moved behind the boulders so fast, I almost doubted I saw anything at all. But it was big, upright, and kind of grayish or brownish. It was like it was there 1 second and gone the next. Now, there are old rumors about unexplained sightings in the water gap, especially around the deeper trails. People talk about government stuff because of the old military training areas around these parts. My uncle once said that some of the weirdest stories come from folks who accidentally wander onto restricted land. I never believed it, but standing there staring at those claw marks, my mind started racing. I wondered if there's a reason so many of the locals keep to themselves. The rest of the day I felt uneasy, like I was waiting for something to pop out from behind every tree. I thought about packing up and leaving right then, but part of me needed to prove I wasn't spooked. I even walked a half-mile circle to check if there were more marks. I found more footprints, like the same shape, smaller though. It was like a trail of them leading toward a creek bed, then disappearing over rocks. I followed them until I lost track. No sign of fur, no big hair clumps stuck to branches, no normal animal stuff. Just these eerie footprints. Then, right before sunset, I climbed a small ridge that gives a view of the valley. That's when I saw it again. Or maybe it was a different one. It stood out in the open for just a couple of seconds, looked hunched, but tall, with these long arms. Its head turned so quickly and then it ducked behind a boulder and vanished. I couldn't see the face clearly. Maybe that was for the best. I got that same chill down my spine, the one that makes your scalp tingle. I realized I wasn't up for a second night out there alone, so I grabbed my stuff and headed straight back to my truck. As I was leaving, I noticed the entire forest felt too quiet. No birds, no usual scurrying. It's like everything went into hiding. I kept thinking about local legend stuff, how people talk about a creature they saw in the 1970s that was never officially identified, or rumors about secret labs in the mountains run by the government. It's probably all nonsense, but there I was, checking my rearview mirror every few seconds. I nearly sped the whole way home, heart hammering the entire drive. I'm not sure what I saw, but I do know it left claw marks in that tree. Something big, something I can't just laugh off. Honestly, I'm still shaken up. People might say it's just a bear or some trick of the light, but I know what I heard and what I felt. There's something out there. And I'm not sure I'm going back into those woods alone again anytime soon. I wanted to tell someone who might take me a little more seriously. If you've heard of anything weird like this in the Delaware water gap, I'd be curious if it matches what I saw. And so, another strange encounter fades away. A trick of the mind, or something far more unsettling. That's for you to decide. Thank you so much for watching my stories. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support is what keeps this channel going.